Hey everybody, it's Carter here in beautiful Vancouver, Canada. Once again, we are working on the RZ 500 engine rebuild. As you can see, I have the motor back in the frame. I put it in there with just the bottom end together so I could do it by myself. It went in fairly easy. I didn't do a video on it because it's fairly self-explanatory, and I wanted to save you guys the wide variety of expletives that were used to get that in there. But it's in, and we've moved on. We're going to look at the injector pump today. I asked my lovely wife Dawn if she'd like to join us for the video, and she said, yeah, she'd be right down. That was an hour and a half ago, so I think we're going to move along and just continue without her. So as you can see, we have this pump disassembled. The pump body is in excellent condition. There's nothing wrong with the bore. It's in beautiful shape. Everything looks, the drive pieces look great. The piston looks like it's in fine condition. The actuator, everything is good on this pump. The only problem was the check valves, the non-return valves. Over the winter, one of these was stuck open and it filled my crankcase and my exhaust pipe with 1.5 liters of two-stroke oil. And since I just rebuilt this motor, I don't want to trust that one of these isn't going to get stuck in the closed position, and as a result, one of my cylinders not getting any oil. If it can get stuck in the open position over the winter, it can certainly get stuck in the closed position. Whether or not it was open because of a weak spring or because of sludgy oil, I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to put in the small plastic Yamaha check valves to replace these. However, they're just like a spigot in and a spigot out, and there's no way to actually screw them into the pump body. And I've seen guys buy them and then glue them to a small round piece of plastic and then cut threads onto that plastic so that you can now screw them into the pump. And other guys are simply running this check valve here without doing anything with it, and then also running the plastic check valve from Yamaha, which is basically made for an outboard motor, but it has the same weight of spring that these ones do, and they're about the same size, but they go in line. They don't go, they don't attach to the pump. If you do want to look for those, that is the part number. That's the genuine Yamaha part number for the inline check valves. I've seen them on RZ 500s on the internet all over the place, and they seem to work very well. So that's what I'm going to use inline, but at the same time, I also still want to use these, but I don't want them to be check valves anymore. So this is when I love when skills from one occupation can work in a different occupation. My sister taught me how to goldsmith and make jewelry, and as a result, I love working with the small finicky stuff like this. So I'm going to try and cut this off, because you can see, if you look at this clearly, this was made from 4 pieces: the body, a separate spigot, a spring, and a ball. So you can clearly see that this spigot and this body are 2 separate pieces. They installed the ball and the spring into the body and then put the spigot over top, place this in a press, and then press down around the edge. You can see that they did, because it's flattened out in that spot in a cone shape. So I'm going to cut next to that, and I'm going to see if I can separate these two, and if I can, then we're going to solder them back together after I have the spring and the ball out. What I'm going to use is this coping saw. It's made for cutting gold or silver or platinum, whatever medium that you're working with when you're making jewelry. And it has an extremely thin blade, which is exactly what I want, because I don't want to lose a whole bunch of material. I want to solder these back together, and I want to have a nice flat surface on both pieces when I do the soldering. So I'm going to take this, and here we are with our final product. After a good sanding and a nice polishing. Four ball-less check valves. They've got no balls, these check valves. No balls at all. The ball-less check valves. All right. All right, everybody, we are back with the pump is reassembled, and I have the ball-less check valves installed, and we're about to test the pump. I've just bled it from the air bleed hose on the end of the pump, and as you can see, since I don't have ball valves or non-return valves any longer, until mine arrive in the mail, which I'm guessing is probably going to be about 3 weeks, I've put this ball valve in the hose so that when I'm done installing this and it's still connected to the tank, I can just shut the flow of oil off with this ball valve, turn it on when I'm wanting to run the motorcycle. And I've left a sticker on my dashboard saying oil tank with a question mark to make sure that whenever I start the motorcycle, I check and make sure that the oil tank is on. If I open the actuator, you can see we've got oil flowing from all 4 ball-less check valves. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pre-fill our hoses with 2-stroke oil. I've got some 2-stroke oil in the tube here, in the syringe. Just get all that air out of there. And I'm going to pre-fill these hoses so that the pump doesn't have to do so much work. Okay, so now with the 4 hoses pre-filled and attached to the pump, we're going to give it one more spin up and make sure that we have nothing but solid fluid coming through. And you can clearly see that all 4 hoses are pushing fluid. So now, when I go to install this pump, I'm just going to clamp these off until I have my top end on and I'm ready to install them. That way they will be full of oil and ready to start pushing, and I will only have to run the bike on premix for a couple of, maybe 250 milliliters of premix to make sure that I've got oil going into all 4 cylinders. And I like to, as I said, pre-fill these hoses before I put them on. That way I'm not putting the pump through undue duress trying to fill up the hoses with the drill. And if you don't fill them up with the drill or with a syringe like I did, then you're unsure. You're standing there running the bike on premix going, I don't know when those hoses are full. When, like at what point, all you can do is really watch the exhaust pipe and see how much, if the amount of smoke changes. This way I know for sure. My hoses are full, the pump is pumping, and I don't have to worry about the hoses filling up as I'm running the bike on its initial premix run. So there we have it. Oil pump is ready to go in.
Say sweet things to me.